Unit 2, Lesson 2, Conflict Styles. Welcome to Conflict Resolution and Peacemaking, the class that teaches you how to manage interpersonal conflict and drama for yourself and others. I'm your instructor, David Lowry. By now, you've probably seen that the things we teach in this course aren't difficult to understand. But living them in our lives, that's a different thing. Yes, it's important to learn this information, but it's more important to live what you learn. The cumulative effect of many simple practices can have a profound impact on your character, wisdom, and peacemaking abilities. In our last lesson, we learned that humans have a physiological response to conflict. We explained how the amygdala functions, and it explains why some people appear unreasonable under stress. We presented Gray and McNaughton's biopsychological theory to help us understand why some people decide to approach conflict while others avoid it. We learned that our perceptions of the rewards and costs involved in times of stress decide whether we will approach or avoid conflict. In today's lesson, we will present scholarship explaining the concept of conflict style. Simply stated, even though there are numerous approaches to conflict, most of us adopt a style we use over and again. Hopefully, today's lesson will introduce other techniques that you can use that will broaden your peacemaking skills and problem-solving abilities. We will begin by looking at the work of Afzalur Rahim and his interpersonal conflict styles. One of the most cited researchers in the field of conflict styles is Afzalur Rahim. In 1983, he published A Measure of Styles for Handling Interpersonal Conflict. His work uncovers 5 primary styles that correlate to 2 overall dimensions: concern for self and concern for others. The 5 styles are integrating, obliging, dominating, avoiding, and compromising. As we study these styles, it's important to keep in mind that each of these styles represents favored or default approaches that most people commonly use. At the same time, there are many other factors that determine the relative success one will have using any given approach. Those who prefer the integrating styles have equal concern for themselves and others. These individuals will do their best to see that the needs of others are realized as they achieve their goals in conflict. Though similar, the integrating style is not the same as compromise. In a compromise, it's usually necessary for one or both parties to give up something to maintain peace or solve a problem. In the integrating approach, it is the intention to maximize the needs of all concerned. An example of an integrating approach might be how an organization approaches and negotiates the hiring process. Both the organization and the candidate will have primary needs that must be fulfilled. When successful, the needs of both the organization and the candidate will be met in such a way that neither feels the other got the better deal. Now let's look at the obliging approach. In this approach to conflict, the person utilizing the obliging style sets aside their preferences in favor of meeting the other person's needs or wishes. As an example, you might agree to go to a restaurant that you don't enjoy all that much because your out-of-town guest wants to eat there. This style is easy to adopt when desires are inconsequential or not perceived as important. At other times, this approach can be dysfunctional and related to avoiding important issues, such as the person who feels they must always give others what they want while never getting their needs met. The dominating style insists upon having their needs met with little or no concern for the needs of others. Since this is a very one-sided approach to problem solving, it's not a very useful long-term strategy. It can be a very effective strategy in emergency situations, such as when police and first responders must take control of health and safety situations. In organizations, managers are often tempted to use this style because they hold power over employees with little recourse to change things. People who use an avoiding style understand there are troubles that need addressing, but they usually withdraw or ignore the situation. This tends to create a lose-lose dynamic where none of the parties involved can find workable solutions. An illustration of this might be an estranged parent who isn't making their child support payments. Rather than searching for a mutually beneficial agreement, the avoider drops out of sight, ignores requests, and so forth. Compromising. Rahim places the compromising bubble to fall across each of the four potential conflict style quadrants. This illustrates the notion that compromise is a potential resource no matter what style one uses. Sometimes it's best for participants to agree to disagree on points of contention in order to move towards a greater good. The benefits of the compromising style is that it lessens or removes competing concerns from the solution process. For instance, the integrating style participant might accept an approach or solution that does not deliver all of their wants and desires, provided they receive an offsetting benefit through compromise. For example, I recently purchased a car with more miles than I wanted because the dealer offered an extended warranty that offset my concerns. The compromising approach allowed me the peace of mind I needed while giving the dealership an opportunity to sell a car. Now that we've talked about Rahim's interpersonal conflict styles, let's look at another popular model, the Thomas-Kilman Conflict Modes model. Another popular approach for examining conflict styles is the Thomas-Kilman Conflict Mode Instrument, or the TKI. Like Rahim's notions of conflict styles, the TKI assesses 5 conflict styles across the dimension of assertiveness and cooperation. Assertiveness refers to the willingness of a person to satisfy their own needs, while cooperation is the willingness to consider the needs of others. So you have 5 TKI modes that include competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. The competing person will insist upon meeting their needs and show little or no concern or consideration for the needs of others. Their attitude is, I want what I want. Collaborating. This style will assert their own needs while paying attention to the concerns of others. Their attitude is that the best solutions come as each person gets as many of their needs met as possible. Compromising. People choosing this style fall in the midpoint of the 2 dimensions. They show equal concern for themselves and others. Their attitude is that all people should be willing to give up something to solve a problem and move forward. Avoiding. The avoiding style ignores people and problems by checking out. They neither assert their needs nor cooperate with others to solve difficult problems. Their attitude is, if I ignore the problem, maybe it will go away. Accommodating. Persons using the accommodating style rarely express their needs or wishes. Their attitude is, give them what they want. Now, before we conclude today's discussions on conflict style, we want to dispel a myth about peacemaking. The myth is that people must always be willing to compromise if they want to resolve a conflict. But now that we've discussed Rahim and the TKI, we hope you'll see that compromise is one of 4 or 5 options out there. Each of the options have strengths and weaknesses and can be a potential help depending upon the needs of a situation. So the next time you hear someone talking about the virtues of compromise, remind them there are other approaches that have the potential of working just as well. Let's talk about what we've learned today. We introduced the concept of conflict styles and presented the scholarly work of Rahim and Thomas-Kilman. Learning about these styles can help us learn more about how most people approach conflict and allow us to reflect on our default styles as well. Each of these styles has benefits and rewards. Learning about conflict styles can broaden our view of how we might approach conflict more successfully. In our next lesson, we will learn about 2 pragmatic and popular approaches, though less scholarly. We think they can be helpful for those wanting an easy-to-remember formula for resolving interpersonal conflict. We thank you for listening to today's program and encourage you to download a script so that you can answer a short quiz.